The year is 117 AD. Rome is at its peak. The empire stretches from the cold frontiers of Britannia to the deserts of Egypt, from the Atlantic Ocean to the distant borders of Parthia. Legions march, aqueducts flow, and Rome rules the known world. But what if Rome didn't just rule with swords, shields, and triremes? What if, docked in a Roman harbor, stood an American Nimitz-class aircraft carrier? A floating city of steel, bristling with jet fighters and weapons centuries ahead of their time. This is not just a question of technology. This is a clash of ancient ambition with modern power. This is Rome with an aircraft carrier, the arrival of man. Imagine the shock of Roman engineers as a vessel the size of 10 Colosseum appears in the Mediterranean. At nearly 1,100 feet long, taller than any structure in Rome when stood on end, the carrier dwarfs every galley and trireme. Its decks are lined with sleek FA-18 Hornets and F-35s, weapons that look like messengers of Jupiter himself. The Emperor Hadrian summons his advisors. This, he declares, shall be the new heart of Rome's navy, a weapon not forged by Vulcan, but delivered by the gods. Rome reigns at sea. The Roman navy was no small force. Hundreds of war galleys patrolled the Mediterranean, securing trade routes and crushing pirates. But with the aircraft carrier, Rome's dominance becomes absolute. A single sortie of jet fighters could obliterate an enemy fleet in minutes. While triremes close in with rams and catapults, the carrier launches missiles and bombs that turn the sea into fire. The great fleets of Carthage, Greece, or even the feared Parthian horse archers inland, none could challenge a Rome that could strike anywhere, at any time. The Mare Nostrum, our sea, would truly belong to Rome. Air power over ancient armies. Now imagine the legions on campaign. Historically, Roman legions moved with discipline and overwhelming infantry tactics. But they were limited by the speed of men and horses. With an aircraft carrier, Rome gains air supremacy. Parthian cavalry charges, broken before they even reach bow range. Germanic tribes assembling in forests, reduced to ash in moments. Rebellions in Judea or Britain, crushed with precision strikes long before the legions even arrive. An aircraft carrier allows Rome to project power hundreds of miles inland. The very sight of jets screaming overhead would be interpreted as divine wrath, proof that Rome truly commanded the favor of the gods, the psychological impact. We often forget that power is not just about weapons. It's about belief. In the ancient world, omens and signs from the heavens shape the decisions of emperors in general. When F-18s soar over the Colosseum, when tomahawk missiles streak across the sky like fiery comets, the message is undeniable. Rome commands the skies. The empire's enemies would not just be defeated, they would be terrified into submission. Entire kingdoms might surrender without battle. Convinced that resistance was against divine will, Rome transformed, but the presence of an aircraft carrier would do more than extend Rome's reach. It would transform Roman society itself. The engineers would marvel at steel hulls, nuclear reactors, and jet propulsion. Roman blacksmiths and philosophers would try to imitate what they saw. The empire's obsession with engineering, aqueducts, roads, domes, would turn toward reverse engineering the gods' war machine. The Roman economy too would shift. Grain fleets and supply lines that once fed legions could now serve a different purpose, keeping the carrier stocked with fuel, ammunition, and food. Rome would adapt and, in doing so, push its civilization into an early form of industrialization. Could anyone stop Rome? Here's the real question. With one carrier, Rome could crush every known rival. Carthage, Parthia, even the barbarian tribes of the north. But could the empire truly maintain control over such a weapon? An aircraft carrier is not invincible. It requires trained crews, maintenance, and the steady flow of supplies. Without modern knowledge, Rome would struggle to repair or reproduce its systems. Ammunition and fuel would eventually run out. In the short term, Rome would dominate the world. In the long term, the empire might become dependent on a single godlike machine it could not replace. And when its power finally faltered, The shock to Rome could be catastrophic. The legacy, still, for as long as it lasted, the Roman Empire with an aircraft carrier would be unstoppable. The Mediterranean would become a Roman lake. The frontiers would expand farther than ever before, and history itself would be rewritten. Imagine Rome extending beyond Europe into Africa, deeper into Asia, even across the Atlantic, centuries before Columbus. Not through exploration, but through military conquest backed by modern firepower. And when future generations look back, they would not see Rome as just an empire of roads and aqueducts. They would see Rome as the first civilization to wield the power of the sky. So what if the Roman Empire had an aircraft carrier? For a time, it would become the greatest superpower the world had ever known, centuries ahead of its time. The legions would march not just with standards of the eagle, but under the thunder of jet engines. Rome's motto was Roma Aeterna, eternal Rome. With the power of a modern carrier, perhaps, it truly might have been.